What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and today we're going to be taking a look at the third variant of the Fibber as part of my Does It Suck series. The Fibber is a unique Hyperion pistol that can spawn with 3 different unique barrels that all have very different characteristics. We've already taken a look at the shotgun Fibber and the ricochet Fibber, and today we're going to be taking a look at what is commonly referred to as the crit Fibber or critical hit Fibber. This particular Fibber is going to list the lowest base damage on the card, and that's how you'll be able to distinguish it from the other two. Obviously, all the stats on the card are bogus, and so we don't really know what the stats are. However, I do know that this one has a massive critical hit modifier. It definitely had the highest critical hit modifier in the game at one point in time, before the Lady Fist was boosted as part of the $100,000 loot hunt. It shoots relatively slow-moving projectiles that have an arc, and bounce, I think, 4 times before coming to rest. 1, 2, 3... couldn't see that one. We'll try to look at it here. I think it's 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. It's 4 or 5 times, I guess. Or maybe they bounce an indiscriminate amount of times until it's gone a certain distance. I'm not sure. Basically, what you need to know is that it bounces a few times. And this weapon doesn't deal a great amount of damage. If you do not hit critical hits, the base damage on it is relatively low, but it makes up for that by having a huge critical hit damage. And so I think if we get critical hits with this weapon, we'll be able to do pretty well. I'll give you a quick look at my gear and skill build. I'm going to be using this Fibber, obviously, and this is the rest of the stuff I'm going to be using. Now, I am going to put some points into velocity as we get a little bit further, but I want to show how aiming it is without velocity and then with velocity, because it is going to change it a little bit, because after you after you fire the weapon, it arcs up just a little bit before beginning to arc down. And so aiming it will be a little bit more difficult once you have points into velocity, because you'll have to adjust for a more extreme upward angle. And so that will be something to watch out for. So we took some damage over time there from a barrel and I think maybe a hot loader, but we were able to survive with help of Grim, and so that was good stuff. We'll go ahead and see if we can't get a bore shot on these two little fellas. Doesn't look like we were able to, but it does look like this weapon is dealing a significant amount of damage when we are hitting critical hits with it, which is good, because I wasn't sure, you know, having never really truly used this weapon, if it would be able to actually kill things. Obviously, aiming this weapon is extremely important because the base damage is relatively low, but when you do hit critical hits with it, it is dealing a massive amount of damage. Obviously, this gun was kind of obsoleted for gunzerker purposes by the Lady Fist, and because of that, it is not really used commonly for anything anymore, but it still seems to be plenty potent with Zero here, and I imagine with Maya it could probably do pretty well as well, because you would be pretty easily able to hit critical hits while enemies are in deception, I would imagine. And so that might make this weapon kind of decent with Maya. But I would assume with Maya, the Lady Fist would be your better option, because it does have a higher fire rate and stuff like that. But this weapon does seem to deal a decent amount of damage. I would say that it definitely doesn't suck. Using it is a little bit weird because of the arc. I guess I'll go ahead and put some points into velocity now and see how that's going to change it. It will arc just a little bit higher as we shoot it, but it doesn't seem to be as extreme as, say, the Tinderbox was. This weapon does seem to be pretty ammo efficient, because the, pellets are dealing a extreme amount of damage after we hit critical hits with them. And so it's actually, going to eat through enemies fairly quickly, I'd say. Going to go ahead and get some heals off this guy real quick. Because my grenade actually happened to hit critical hits there, and occasionally that will happen. It did a massive amount of damage because I was wearing a weapon that increased critical hit damage, so that actually killed the badass loader there, which is something you don't see too often, but, kind of interesting there. We'll go ahead and get some slag and kunai on this guy. And it looks like one hits are almost possible with this weapon, coming out of deception most of the time. And so that's pretty cool. That's something that you don't always see, especially with Hyperion pistols. And it makes weapons pretty powerful if you can do that in Zero's hands. So we're going to get slag on these guys here. We'll test the bore capabilities right now, I guess, by getting two enemies kind of close together. So that actually looked pretty saucy. I liked that quite a bit. And it looks like, you know, this weapon will be able to bore. Due to the arcing nature of the bullets, you'll probably have a little bit harder time boring enemies than you would with some other weapons. But, you know, not a big deal. I am increasing the fire rate rather significantly right now by a large boost into Two Fang. And because of that, the weapon actually seems to have a decent fire rate. Hyperion weapons, once you've got the recoil effect or the anti-recoil effect going for you, Two Fang doesn't apply too much of unmanageable recoil. And so as you're shooting it there, some of those extra rounds from Two Fang are actually going to be quite on target, which is nice. So now we're going to get some loaders here that have guns and stuff, and one of them here has a corrosive damage over time gun, so we're going to need to kill him rather quickly. Looks like we got one more exploder here. We'll deal with him. I was able to stop that bull loader in its tracks there, which is good. Looks like we got a hot loader over there, so we'll deal with him. Another chance for bore here, so that worked out well. Was a little bit too close to that hot loader, but I knew I had some transfusions coming, so I wasn't incredibly worried about that. Looks like we got another hot loader here, so that's kind of scary. This particular guy seems to have a potent weapon as well, so we'll get our transfusions back before dealing with him. Excellent. So this weapon is actually surprising me with its potency. I wasn't really anticipating it performing as well as it did. And so that kind of means that all three versions of the Fibber do not suck. And that was a little bit surprising to me. I wasn't really expecting anything other than the ricochet Fibber to be really strong. But both the shotgun version and the critical hit version are actually fairly potent here, even at overpower levels, and I like that quite a bit. We'll let him shoot off some of his rockets before we go ahead and try to kill him here, because those rockets deal quite a bit of damage, and if they're just going to our decoy, we don't really need to worry about them, so that worked out well. So far, I haven't really had any troubles working through the Washburn refinery here, and even aiming the weapon has been quite easy, so that's pretty cool. Blow up some of these barrels here before we get started on the enemies, while we only have one relatively easy to deal with gun loader over here, so that's good stuff. Want to kill him before that eye blast does damage to me. And so as you can see, hitting critical hits with this weapon deals a massive amount of damage, which is nice. Has no problem even killing that enemy at range now that we've put a few points into velocity as well. Obviously it is also boosted by my legendary killer calm, so effectively we have 8 points into velocity, which is a significant amount. Velocity is not great with every weapon, but some weapons it's really helpful. Again, the crit Fibber is surprisingly potent here. Looks like we do have a badass loader in here, so that's something that we'll watch out for as we work through this. Getting close to getting the Killer 5, which is cool, I guess, considering I've only really used pistols on this character, you know, as part of my Does It Suck series, considering this was my Sniper Zero. Cool, those rockets aren't able to get over that little railing there for us. And as you can see, it tears up this badass loader pretty quickly. Really a surprisingly potent weapon. I did not expect it to do anywhere near this well. And the Hyperion effect is making it so that after we work through a couple rounds, or a couple, rounds from the magazine, that it's accurate enough to actually hit those critical hits, even with points in Two Fang, which is nice. Obviously, with Two Fang, the extra recoil from the weapon using Hyperion weapons isn't really a big deal because of the Hyperion effect. And being a Hyperion pistol, you actually carry over the accuracy bonus through reloads, and so that's pretty cool. So if you just keep firing like that, you're going to keep the accuracy bonus, which doesn't happen with all Hyperion weapons, but it does happen with Hyperion pistols, and so that's actually really nice and makes the weapon pretty effective. If you do, rapidly fire it like that, you could theoretically run out of ammo, but so far we still have over exactly 345 rounds of ammunition, and that's, I think, a little over a third of total pistol capacity, and that's pretty good. I did open a couple boxes, but it was primarily for grenades. And other than that, though, the ammo seems to be fairly efficient with this weapon, so long as you're hitting critical hits. The bore might also be really nice if enemies are really close to walls, because they do bounce around and stuff. I guess we'll go ahead and deal with Pervy and his friends and see if we're able to do that effectively with this weapon. Pervy might be kind of hard to hit because he's low to the ground and stuff. Who knows? Most of the time I've been aiming kind of, on a flat plane, and that's made aiming it with the arc a little bit easier, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, now that we're in 4-player scaling, these enemies are going to be quite difficult, and so that will be something to watch out for. Not only will they be healthier, they're going to deal more damage to us as well. So, we may need to take some special precautions, but we knocked out that first one pretty quickly, so that's good. Got another one down. Pervy's coming around the edge now, so we need to make sure he is slagged. Get some kunai on him. And get some critical hits on him. Took out Pervy pretty damn easily. That was pretty cool. There'll be a couple more loaders in this room for us. Overall, the crit fibber has been surprisingly effective. I like it quite a bit, actually. It's kind of fun to use, too, because of its, unique firing patterns and bouncing bullets and stuff. It's, kind of neat. I kind of like this weapon. Never really used it before, but it was a pleasant surprise that was quite enjoyable to use. All 3 versions of the Fibber are, rather enjoyable weapons to use. And so, in regard to the question, does it suck, relating to the crit Fibber, the answer is definitely no. And that's actually the same answer as for the shotgun Fibber, and definitely the ricochet Fibber as well. I would say that the ricochet Fibber is the most potent and potentially powerful, however it is the most difficult to use. This weapon is very easy to use, and probably the least powerful of the 3, but still a very potent weapon. And this is, middle in terms of difficulty of use and potential, I would say. So all 3 versions of the Fibber are actually pretty powerful. As always, guys, I thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet taken the time to subscribe, please do so. I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, I do hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.